Today, we're pumping gas with Marie Claire China, writing a letter to Daddy with Interview Magazine, and getting wet with Behind the Blinds. My name is Marco, welcome to the Model Gene, and if you're ready to dissect this month's covers, hit that like button and let's get started on March's Battle of the Covers. Starting off with Vogue US, we have Rosalia by Alasdair McLellan for their spring issue, because we can no longer be expecting covers every month. It's a pretty photo, nothing wrong about it, but there isn't enough of a statement being made to where I will remember this cover in a few months. The irony is that the title reads, "Fashion gets fun," when there is nothing fun about any of this. The makeup, the hair, the white look, it's all very conservative. From the editorial, I like this image. The draping of the sheer fabric is so beautiful, not the most flattering angle of Rosalia, but still a very pretty image. This is the most epic photo from the shoot, so much texture in the skirt, way more bold than the cover. Overall, Vogue US gets a passing grade this month, but not high marks. Bhavita Mandava covers British Vogue, a lovely cover of the newest star in the modeling industry. Bhavita opened up the Chanel show in New York City last year, the first Indian model to do so, and her magnetism translates to this cover. Do I love this look on her? No. Do I like the blue background? No, I actually prefer it with a gray background, and yet, her smile is so infectious, I'm still left with a positive impression of the cover. The blue background is more harmonious in the rest of the editorial than on the cover. This would be my favorite of those images, but this is my favorite image from the editorial. The concept is very simple, but I like the use of negative space, subtractive architecture in the set design, and how the circle cutouts create punctuated moments of visual interest rather than a continued sequence. This is not the last cover we'll be seeing of Bhavita, I can guarantee you that. Covers Vogue France with an expression of a 5-year-old in a beauty pageant who doesn't want to be there, but her mom is forcing her to continue. The rage baiting continues with this text, "Maintenant que j'ai 30 ans, je veux me concentrer sur moi-même," which translates to, "Now that I'm 30, I want to focus on myself," coming from that greedy, money-hungry family. Vogue France has become my least favorite of the big four Vogues, a true embarrassment for one of the epicenters of fashion. Bella Hadid covers Vogue Italia. Boring and forgettable. Sad that Vogue Italia and France have devolved to this. When is this period going to end? Connor Story covers Vogue ADRIA. I have mixed feelings about this shoot, but none that are his fault. Connor is a fantastic actor, a true shapeshifter, but I think the styling and the creative direction failed him. He unfortunately has attached himself to Saint Laurent, a brand whose silhouettes are not created for a muscular hunk. This is like when Margot Robbie was in Chanel jail, Emma Stone at Louis Vuitton, where they are beholden to a specific brand due to their contract, but end up looking worse for it. Richer, but worse off. Seeing so many men wearing the same Saint Laurent look with the tie tucked in, it starts looking comical. I prefer this cover. The strong shadows highlight his facial structure. He looks very handsome, but as someone who works in developing models, this looks like a test shoot, not a Vogue cover. The roll neck outdoors with a very warm light, it screams, "We have no budget," even if it is Saint Laurent. The best images are these two most stripped back ones, his natural curls, rugged, but that is a different character to these photos. I still think they are beautiful photos, this one is a highlight, but this photo in the car is a universe away from this one in the truck, with the Porsche photo feeling like a cheap accessories campaign. Congratulations to the heated rivalry horse girls, I hope you enjoyed seeing your universes colliding. Two covers for Vogue Portugal's Kiss Me issue, but my favorite is the wedding supplement by Elio Nogueira. We don't need Margot Robbie to invoke Wuthering Heights, these bonnets do the trick, and I love the decision to shoot this in front of the beautiful staircase. I like the action in the photo with the models tightening the other's corset, as well as the draping of the wedding dresses. The other two covers are completely forgettable. There was a lot that could have been done with the Kiss Me issue, but we didn't go there this time. Diane Kruger covers ESPAñA, 3 covers that range from average to bad. This cover is the best of the 3. I like the lipstick replacing the cigarette, but this look feels very bulky. If the arm that was in her pocket was off her body more and showed her waist, it would help. Across the covers, the retouching of her face is the most off-putting because I can't even tell who it is without the text. It's like a mix of Jennifer Lawrence and Nicole Kidman. Here again, the pose is not helping her, especially with these leathers she's wearing. In this final cover, the whites have been blown out, her face is too bright, but in the hands of another photographer, this exact pose with different lighting could have been amazing. Odessa Azayan covers LUS. The cover is okay, I like the icy color palette, but inside the editorial, it's like jumping back to the American Apparel days. Odessa's personality is such a big part of her appeal, and these photos are not highlighting that. This cover is not memorable, but I've seen worse. Loli Baya covers Harper's Bazaar France. I love this portrait of her. I don't think the blur adds anything to the image, but she has such an androgynous sex appeal here. No wonder Rosalia fell for her. I love that the hair is almost sweaty looking rather than just curly, and this big Dior bow and collar give that photo a timeless quality. They get a thumbs up from me this month. Autumn Durald Arcapao covers Vogue Philippines. Firstly, I want to congratulate her on being the first woman of color to be nominated for Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards, and the first female to win that award. That being said, this cover is not very bold or groundbreaking. The colors, creative direction, lighting, everything is flat. Hopefully, Vogue Philippines can give us something really impressive with their next issue. 3 covers of Harper's Bazaar France Homme. I'm not crazy about any of them, but I do like the painted face here. At least something interesting to overcome the boring quality of Willy's photography. The styling and the pose are also positives, but still, this looks like e-com with this background. Ella Rattigan covers Harper's Bazaar Italia. No idea why they thought a Russian nesting doll with the magazines was necessary. I think the location and the outfit were enough to create a compelling image. I don't love how pale her face makeup is comparing to her arm, but I think they wanted it to look a bit crazy. In this other cover, I don't know why they used a landscape image for that cover and just left that negative space up top, but the image itself I like. There is a softness and tenderness in their expressions. The light is dancing so beautifully on their hair. I much prefer this cover than the Inez and Benude one. Rebecca Ferguson covers Harper's Bazaar UK. I don't care for the pose, but I love the colors here. She looks very modern, but it otherwise looks like a stunning painting. I would have liked her hair off of her face, movement in her body as well, rather than just existing like a column of fabric. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson cover Interview magazine. It seems like they're referencing the 1962 film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane with Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Although I don't get Robert's wig. The way Zendaya is wrapped around his body, their expressions, it is wonderful and twisted. The pair are starring in an upcoming A24 film called The Drama. I'm very much looking forward to watching that, and this editorial helps by tapping into that complicated relationship of these characters. I really like these 2 images, very Helmut Newton inspired. The moral of this editorial is that love is exhausting, just look at their faces. Hailey Bieber covers Vogue Australia. I'm sorry, but the lip filler is out of control. By lip filler, I mean she went to her friend dermatologist to get that special brand of Accutane that made nose a completely different shape. Besides the migrating filler, her eyes are dead in the picture and drooping unevenly. The coat looks soft, and that's about the only thing I can compliment here. He Song and Jia Wenju cover Vogue China. Normally this magazine delivers, but not a great cover this month. My biggest problem with the cover is the complete disconnect between the 2 subjects. He Song is looking seductive, Jia Wenju is smiling with a pose that looks very unnatural. There's not a clear narrative on display, but I much prefer these images from the editorial. In this photo from the same location and looks, we have an interaction between the 2 models. It feels more authentic. This is my favorite of the solo shots. I love the silhouette of her body here, and this photo of them in the chairs is very cute too. Hannah Hertzsprung covers Vogue Germany. I'm sorry, but what the is this? From a country that gave us Peter Lindbergh and Helmut Newton, this is now what fashion photography is coming out of Germany. This is the worst cover of the month. I can't find anything redeemable about this image. Margaret Qualley covers Vanity Fair magazine, and in the words of Chandler Bing, could she be any more beautiful? I love the volume and wind in her hair, the decision to keep the makeup very restrained, and the shape created by the exposed part of her leg. Inside the editorial, I don't love her expression here, but there are some beautiful images throughout. This photo, love it, but my favorite would be this portrait. It's so soft and delicate, the feather and her hair blowing tenderly, 10 out of 10. Connor Story covers Behind the Blinds, and my first congratulations will be to the team who actually got the boy wet, not like the many covers I've previously complained about to where there is a dry man in a wet situation. Did he need to be wearing latex pants here instead of swimwear? No, but at least the lighting is nice. This is a great shot of him as well. Too much clothing, but his face looks great. Milena Smith covers Harper's Bazaar España. I think they could have gotten rid of these 3 covers and just settled on this one. This minty pistachio background really makes her shoes pop, and her pose is creating beautiful shapes. It does get a bit strange around the midsection. I guess there is some kangaroo pouch that she's putting her hands in, but otherwise it's a very cheerful and sweet cover. Is that an unsteamed garment I'm seeing on this cover? 10 covers of V magazine, but my first question is why are they all showing body, but the one curve model is a portrait? I feel bad that Jean Cadieux got put in this clown costume, but she is doing a great job at making interesting shapes, especially the lower half of her body. My favorite cover is this one of Malgosia Bella. The sheer fabric wrapped around her body, especially how she is pulling on her raised arm, it is fantastic. Karolina Spakowski, blonde bombshell, love her hair here. Aja Angau's cover has the least amount of tension, not my favorite of the covers. Sora Choi looks super elegant in this dress. She looks very dancerly in her posture. Julia Nobis is the most out of place here, not my favorite. Felice Nordhoff looks like a powerful lesbian about 2 meters tall with this pose, a nice cover for her. Iman Hammam's cover is the sexiest of the bunch. I love it, one of the better covers. Lastly, we have the legendary Natasha Polly, and this photo immediately made me think of this Fall-Winter 2000 Versace campaign by Steven Meisel. She would fit in well in this universe. Yu Wen covers Harper's Bazaar China. The result is not earth-shattering and innovative, but the result is beautiful nonetheless. Starting off with a portrait, I don't know how many frames this took, but this is the perfect execution of the wind-swept-in-the-face portrait. Every strand is in a good position, not too chunky, good variation in shape. There is great movement in her pose as well, and her face is flawless as ever. The heavily accessorized styling is right at that perfect limit to where it's slightly exaggerated, but still very wearable. In the other cover as well, it's a lot with all those belts, but they are layered really well and her waist is defined nicely. The editorial is a bit confusing. All of these photos fit in the same story as the cover images. The tone and visual impression is cohesive, but these photos seem disconnected. They don't look at all like they're in the same universe, the same story, but that doesn't make them any less beautiful. Dujuan covers Marie Claire China. I love this entire shoot. Okay, one main criticism of the cover, I don't like how they faded this part of the character. This feels clunky and an afterthought. Besides that, I love the vibrant colors, how the red is contrasting with the blue and purples of the late sunset, and the play with reflections. The pants are shiny, so is the car, and you have the perfect amount of highlight on her cheek as well. Seeing this photo in the editorial, I actually prefer the way the lighter is being held. It is easier to read as a lighter, where in the cover, I wasn't sure if it was a blade or lighter until I zoomed in very close. This cover is taken earlier in the day, much more soft and delicate. The framing is interesting, just not as impactful as the other cover. This is my least favorite. The styling is overwhelming the image, but there are tons of gems in the editorial. The concept here is easily digestible, and the one thing they could not have predicted when they shot this was the soaring gas prices that would come this month. Mona Tugard covers Volume 2 of Die La Repubblica's fashion issue. I love this burst of orange contrasting with the blue sky and beach. This volume of the dress is doing all the work here, but inside the editorial, we are getting a fully realized fashion story. Let's just take some time to indulge in the beauty of this work by Robin Garrigue. There are several shots that are excellent. This is what I want from a fashion editorial. A location shoot, characters, not blandness in front of a gray backdrop. 2 covers of Vogue Czechoslovakia. I wish I liked this cover of Erin O'Connor more, but the execution failed them. This dress is sitting too low on Erin. A sculpted bodice that isn't tailored will often look like this when it isn't hugging the curves of the body properly. The way these pieces of hair are laid doesn't make sense either. The sheets should be ripped rather than cut neatly, and the worst is this one on top of her head. Also, that piece wasn't masked properly in Photoshop. This is sloppy and wasn't planned with the logo in mind. As a concept, this could have worked. The color of the pink, the blue, the sky on the inside, the contrasting taupe being disrupted by color, but the reality didn't quite get there. The other cover of Perus Adolwi is not bad. The red hat and turquoise text look good together. I just don't understand why they made her face so oily. The highlight above her lip and this one on the crease of her nose are pulling focus, but otherwise, it's not a terrible cover. Pedro Almodovar and the stars of Amarga Navidad cover Vogue España. He looks uncomfortable, but the composition is excellent. Smart use of color and pattern here. It is difficult to photograph 5 subjects with balanced hierarchy, but this actually works very well. I also appreciate that this was not taken in front of a white backdrop in a studio. The scene is more interesting as a result. Penelope Cruz covers L'Officiel, and she looks exceptional in these photos. This cover is hitting the balance of traditional and modern, the same sentiments defining Chanel under Mathieu Blasi. The raw edge of this jacket, the ornate door, it's hitting the perfect tone. This story could have been shot in studio, and most magazines would have done so, but shooting on location with these magnificent rooms adds so much character and life to these photos. These are quite possibly the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen of Penelope Cruz. Congratulations to Greg Swales and the team at L'Officiel for this beautiful story. Amongst these 5 covers from another magazine, my favorite is this one of Loli Baya. It is timeless, photographed in a way that echoes the spirit of Comme des Garçons, and I love the way the black is used sparingly in order to bring your eye to her face. Inside the editorial, it's difficult for me to pick a favorite shot. There are too many to choose from, but maybe it is this one. The undulating pattern and volume, the use of contrast and negative space, this is a fantastic image. The cover by Paolo Roversi is boring. This cover is very flat. Lulu's cover story at first was interesting with the warped mirror, but quickly loses its impact when all the photos are the same. I don't understand why they didn't hire another model for this cover story with Bibi Breslin. They could book another girl with a similar look rather than doing this in Photoshop. There are a lot of great photos. Bibi is gorgeous, just a weird decision to duplicate her. 7 cover stars for V-Man. The photos of Connor Story and Taylor Zakar Perez are the highlights. Connor is the man of the moment, photographed very lovingly by Luigi Andiango. This lighting shows off his body and curly hair really well. This high contrast setup is better for him than something flatter and softer. This portrait is nice, but I don't love the thickness of the glove. It would have been better without it, but the shine of the leather is good. I prefer his hair curly, but this zebra glove photo is great as well. Choosing between Taylor's 2 covers, the portrait is significantly better. It's not that he looks bad here, but this is 100% a Men's Health cover. The portrait is much better for V-Man, showing off his chiseled face, and the hairstyling is perfect here. The reflection off his jet black hair with how they sculpted this, great job. They went much sportier in his styling, but it suits him well. He is a brand ambassador for Lacoste, so I'm sure that was the driving force in the decision for what he wore. The other covers are okay, not terrible, but there is a few things with Kit Butler's photos that stood out. In this portrait, there is so much tension in his neck, it is dominating the image. In this cover, there is a bit of dissonance because the expression is as if he's biting something with his teeth and pulling, but there's nothing there. If they had unclasped his watch, had him pulling with his teeth, it would have worked much better. 3 covers for the director's issue of W Magazine. Very interesting to see the glow down of Timothy Chalamet. He was once the most beloved boy in the industry, but the shift has been swift. I think Josh Safdie is trying to invoke Adam Sandler with the tracksuit and sloppiness, but this is just not a great image. Lots of visual clutter. He is holding the controller backwards. Not great. Jessie Buckley's cover is fine. I would have liked more light in her eyes, but it's okay. Teyana Taylor's cover is soft. Happy to see her without so much heavy paint on her face, but as an image, this is not very memorable. And that is where today's review is going to end, but for more about the fashion industry, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the covers this month, and be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the Battle of the Covers.